It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does on a Friday, and great to have you with us all across America and much of Canada as well. Got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes of this show. It's Friday. Everybody's in a good mood on Friday, right? It's what you work all week long for. We'll be joined by our friend Robert Littal, Black Sports Online founder. Tino Pattigno drops in to help us preview a NASCAR race on the short track in Martinsville. Oh, there'll be lots of bumping, lots of rubbing, because rubbing is racing. So we'll talk to him about all of that. We've got the game winner of the year in the NBA, maybe the game winner of the year in all of sports, at least as far as, through the first 3 months of the year. And by the time the year is over, it might still be the best game winner in sports. So we will get to that as well. The start of Major League Baseball on opening day. But Sammy Arnell, we start things out in college basketball. How sweet it is for Duke. They are moving on to the Elite Eight. They beat Arizona last night, and Cooper Flagg had 30 in the game. But can I tell you, it's the first time I've really sunk my teeth into Cooper Flagg. And, you watch highlights and you watch games throughout the year, and there's so much that we have to keep track of doing a show that's about everything every day and not having, a staff of 50 that tells us everything that goes on and hands us notes and all that. We're a small team here, a small but very efficient team here. I watched Cooper Flagg, and I got to tell you something. For all the buzz and hype, and he's going to be the top pick in the draft, and everything he means to Duke, and I appreciate all of that. You know what I see when I watch him? And I know some people are going to get on me and say that it's not a fair comparison.
No.
You know what I see?
Don't say what I think you're about to say.
I see Kevin Love.
Oh, okay.
Right. I see Kevin Love.
That's not what I thought you were going to say.
What did you think I was going to say?
Grayson Allen.
Oh, God, no. I don't see Grayson Allen.
Yeah. I was like, no. Land this plane, Jason. Where are we going with this one?
No. I see prime Kevin Love. So it's a good player, a really good player, a borderline great player. Kevin Love at his best was a borderline great player. And I know some people say, well, he's more athletic and all that. But I see from an impact standpoint, when I watch him and I think of him at the next level, because everybody's going to say, well, he's more athletic than Kevin Love. Well, everybody's athletic in the NBA now. I mean, this isn't the NBA of 30 years ago where, you got guys lumbering around. Mark Eaton lumbering around up and down the floor. This is a different NBA where everybody's athletic. And when you put him amongst the most athletic, I don't know how athletic he's going to look on a night-in, night-out basis. I think he's good. I think he's going to get his shots. I think he knows how to get to certain points on the court. I like, watching him shoot from the perimeter. I just don't think he's going to be this transformational star. He's not Wemby. If you ask me who the future of the NBA is, and you're like Cooper Flagg or Victor Wembanyama, it's Victor Wembanyama. It's not Cooper Flagg. I'm sorry. That's just what I see in watching him and watching an extended version of him on a night where he played really well.
So, hand up, maybe giving the kid a little too much credit, but diving into the stats, I may not be giving him enough credit. Because my immediate reaction when you said that was, I do think that it is a unique postulation for him to be the Kevin Love kind of build and archetype. I see Jason Tatum, man. And
wow.
And maybe it's because of the Duke uniform, and maybe it's because of the success in the Duke uniform. But I look at Cooper Flagg, and it's that same kind of, how do I put this? Not stagnant aura, but definitely not a world beater when it comes to being on top of everything, right? That's why you've seen Janai Broom come into the Player of the Year conversation, and ultimately he's going to win the award. The matter is, the numbers are very similar. Flagg is actually better in terms of assists and points. They rebounded about the same clip, comparing Jason Tatum's one-and-done year to Cooper Flagg's one-and-done year. But the effective field goal percentage is the same. The PER is actually way higher, the player efficiency rating for Cooper Flagg than it is for Tatum. So I totally get the Kevin Love comparison because I think peak Kevin Love, like you were talking about,
Yes.
was contending to be a face of the NBA.
He was.
But I look at Cooper Flagg, and again, maybe it's just the Duke jersey, but I see a Jason Tatum type of player.
We'll continue the conversation on college basketball in a moment after a word from our friends at Edge Boost. I am pumped to tell you about Edge Boost because it is the March Madness. And in March Madness, you're going to be putting some money on some games. And if you're going to do that, you want to use our friends from Edge Boost, an online bank account paying you for every deposit. And with the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. Free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. It's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it'll never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more and sign up today. That's edgeboost.bet, or just scan the QR code. And when you go in there, use my code WRAP, W-R-A-P, my promo code WRAP, and get yourself a free account upgrade with our friends over at Edge Boost. The other exciting game of the night was Texas Tech defeating Arkansas in overtime. So Texas Tech is on to the Elite Eight. The other two games were blowouts. Alabama put up 113 on BYU, and Florida took care of Maryland, ending that sort of dream story considering what happened with Derek Queen and around the 32 and all of that. So Florida wins 87-71. I still feel like this is Duke's tournament at this point, but I mean, that's just where I am.
I think Florida's getting really hot at the right time. And obviously, I also, Jason, think there's a lot of recency bias incorporated into that. Think about it. You saw Duke play yesterday. You haven't seen all the teams that are going to play on Friday night play since last weekend. So there's a lot of good basketball coming. And that Kentucky-Tennessee game is going to be incredible. My takeaway from, obviously, the historic loss for John Calipari's Razorbacks in the Sweet 16 is this. This is a team that is a very Coach Cal team, a lot of raw talent, and they'll get out to that historic lead that they had, but they'll also blow it because they don't always play the best team basketball. It was a great story in his first year, and I think they'll be back there next year.
They will.
But I don't think he's a champion.
By the way, just to preview the other Sweet 16 action on Friday night, I have no faith in Purdue because Matt Painter's not a great head coach. No faith in Purdue to beat Houston tonight. All right, let's do some baseball. Opening day! What is there to say? What is there to show you? You'll get it next. Welcome back to this Friday edition of Sports Wrap. Coming up in 10 minutes, Robert Littal, Black Sports Online founder. What does he make of this? Are there any winners in this Stephen A. Smith, LeBron James kerfuffle? This spat? Because at this point, it feels very WWE to me. It feels, some of it almost feels contrived. It almost feels like they're leaning into it, building up to whatever, maybe a sit down, an interview for the ages that they'll put on ESPN in prime time. We'll get into that. But Sam Yarnell, it was opening day of Major League Baseball, and nothing really matters. Nothing really matters. I'm sorry. The whole world could have crumbled around me yesterday, and it would not have mattered because yesterday was opening day of Major League Baseball. Oh, how beautiful is it? The Yankees are on pace to go 162-0 after they beat the Brewers 4-2. I watched Harold Reynolds bashing the Yankees' decision to put Austin Wells in the leadoff spot an hour before Austin Wells hits a leadoff home run to start that game.
Whoa.
I loved it. Loved it. Whoa,
okay.
What?
But like, let's think about this for a second.
Sure.
Had you known, obviously hindsight 2020, right? But this is my problem with Aaron Boone as a manager, of which I know you have many.
Oh.
Had I known that Austin Wells had that kind of power, granted, it was the Little League of Little League home runs. It was a wall scraper in the smallest park in the big leagues. Yes. It would have been a home run in one of 30 stadiums. Go look it up on StatCast.
I know.
But had you known he was going to do that, wouldn't you want someone on base? Wouldn't you want him hitting fourth or fifth so that you could get a guy maybe 2 on base?
I have no problem with the Yankees trying out Austin Wells to start the season in the leadoff spot.
First catcher to hit a leadoff homer, or to hit a homer out of the leadoff spot on opening day since 1900, I believe. That's the stat. There's crazy. Some weird semantics in
certainly
there,
the first in Yankees history. Can we just put a giant thing of bubble wrap around Mike Trout? I watched him get hit with a pitch yesterday in the hand, and I'm just sitting there going, really? Yeah. Like, we cannot, there is no way to protect Mike Trout. He was okay, and he finished the game. And by the way, hope you took the over on that White Sox over 54.5, because they've already got one in the books with a win yesterday against the Angels. But that's not what we're really here for. What we're really here for was the Marlins Alcantara versus Skeens, and what I said absolutely came to fruition. One guy went 4 1/3, the other went 5, which is why I was not as excited about this game as a lot of people were.
Did you watch those 5 innings though? They were electric.
Yeah, it's 5 innings, and neither of them factored in the outcome of the game because the Marlins came from behind and got a walk-off victory on opening day. And again, this is why I love opening day, though. And I don't mean to wax poetic here, but I'm gonna for a second. None of the crap that we talk about before the season and in spring training and win totals and all that stuff, none of it matters for one day out of the year. For these teams that are supposed to be craptastic in 2025. I love that about opening day and really opening week, because for a week or two, and I say this all the time, teams don't know they suck until they really find out they suck. So to me, I love the first week or two of the season when teams are winning games and beating teams they're probably not going to be able to beat in July and August. I'm sorry. I enjoy it. Sam, I know you want to talk about Mackenzie Gore, and I'm going to let you do that. I promise. But I can't yet, because first I got to talk about our friends over at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades. And you can do it with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months. It's going to save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. Find out how much you could save right now. Call 1-800-747-5362. 1-800-747-5362 with our friends from Credit Associates, or just scan the QR code below. Okay, Sam.
Well, in the ilk of what you were saying, Jason, right, as somebody who considers himself a die-hard fan of a team that has unfortunately spent about 3 times of its existence, 3 times as much of its existence being irrelevant as they have being relevant, opening day is awesome because sometimes you get exactly what Mackenzie Gore did yesterday, striking out 13 hitters over 6 innings against a team that a lot of people picked to win or contend for a World Series this year. Like, that is the beauty of opening day. Nothing matters. Exactly what you're saying, right? A team that won 71 games last year can think that they have the Cy Young favorite for a whole way through the rotation just because of one start on opening day. Or on the other side of that, back to your Yankees game, you can be Jackson Chourio and strike out 5 times on opening day after everyone was like, wow, this kid's gonna be great this year.
Is that platinum or diamond sombrero? I'm not sure which one it is, but he was wearing it, and he should have to wear it. Because Devin Williams all but gave away that game in the 9th inning for the Yankees yesterday, which I didn't realize he didn't have a fastball that couldn't get above 94. And I am sorry. I am not a fan of closers that the Tigers had a guy, Todd Jones. Todd Jones, when he was closing for the Tigers back in the day, he was one of these guys that threw like 92, 93. I'm like, no, I want my closer to come in there and be able to blow people away. And Devin Williams cannot blow people away. I'm just saying. So I'm not going crazy. It's day one. I know he's got this wicked change and all that,
right.
But it's like,
so that's why we need to ask David Aardsma about this. And it would actually probably be even more beneficial to ask a professional hitter about this. So maybe we'll ask Cameron Maben or something. But when you think about Devin Williams, right, the airbender, that's what he's known as because of that insane changeup. And when that changeup is 83 miles an hour, 85 miles an
Makes
hour,
94
compared
faster.
to that wicked break looks like 97, 98.
Yes.
So I completely understand what you're saying, but I think that there's a way he makes it look faster.
How about the win for the Marlins yesterday? We talked about that. Also, a late home run for Jorge Polanco lifts the Mariners to a win over the A's last night. And even more important in that game is the home run for Randy Arozarena. If the Mariners are going to do anything this year, Arozarena needs a bounce back. Arozarena needs a bounce back year. That home run he hit to tie the game last night against the A's, a huge one early on in the season. Good win for the Mariners on opening night.
They need Julio Rodriguez to perform in April.
Oh, they do. They do. I think he'll be fine long term, though. We're coming back. Robert Littal next. This Friday edition of Sports Wrap rolls on. And we're talking about all sorts of things with our Friday friend. He's more than a friend on Fridays, but he's a Friday friend. It's Robert Littal. He's the founder of Black Sports Online, who hangs out with us on the show. And apparently he just spoke to Jonathan Majors, because when I went to go talk to him today, he had a Jonathan Majors like background splashed all across the screen. Can we put that? Is it possible to put that back up?
Of course we can.
Can we put that back up? Can we click a button and put that back up? Because this is what I saw when I hit up Robert Littal this morning.
Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, because this was pretty funny. Because Robert Littal answered the video call today, and he had something very funny in his background that made me start questioning just what's going on in your world. When I turn around and I see that wasn't the one. You had one of him that was like he was like practically naked in the. Oh,
there he is right there. You see his chest on the side. Look at that back.
There you go. Yeah. So I saw that, and I'm just like, what is going on? He's like, I interviewed Jonathan Majors. So there you go. So people will be able to watch that with our friend Robert Littal. So I got to get your thoughts. Are there any winners? Because it sure as hell doesn't feel like it in this LeBron James scraps that he's having with Stephen A. Smith at this point. You got Stephen A. Smith going on for 20 minutes yesterday on First Take and just rambling about, sort of his side of the story when it comes to LeBron. You got LeBron on for an hour with Pat McAfee, which, Stephen A. can say all the nice things he wants. Pat McAfee, it's kind of a dig at Stephen A. Smith when you go and do that. Are there any winners in this thing?
Oh, absolutely. I think Stephen A. Smith is a winner. He's living Skip Bayless's dream. This is Skip Bayless's dream right here, to have LeBron approach him or LeBron talk about him for an hour. Listen, Stephen A. Smith is a persona. It's a character. I've met him in person. He's actually very soft-spoken and nice, in person. What you're watching is a WWE character. You're watching a man who has perfected, a character. You ever met an actor and or an actress that is just, they're cemented in a role? You can't see him, like Kramer from Seinfeld.
He'll always be Kramer.
Stephen A. Smith is the Stephen A. Smith. You can never see him in any other light. And this is what he wants, and LeBron even said it, he's going to probably talk another 20 minutes, another hour, because I said this, and he's getting excited at his house in his tidy whities right now. And that's exactly what happened. And if you notice, ESPN is not running away from it. They're embracing it.
They're leaning into it. Yeah,
this is what they want. So they're the winners, I guess.
I'm trying to remember who I was having this conversation with. It was matter of fact, we had Chuck Todd on the show yesterday, and it wasn't Chuck Todd yesterday, but it was Chuck Todd back when we had him on just before the election, who said this, that the sports networks are leaning into what the political networks had been doing for the last 15 years, which is contentious conversations, back and forth, these sort of, gotcha moments and these sorts of things. And it's so off-putting to me It is so off-putting to me. Not that we're doing some highbrow show and we're the antithesis of Pat McAfee, who's, doing, college frat boy humor and that sort of thing. Not that that's what we're doing on this show. We have our share of fun. But to me, I just think it's lowering the discourse. Well, in sports, it's dumbing it down. Well, it's 90s and early 2000s Howard Stern.
Oh, absolutely.
Dumbing it down. And I don't think anybody's better for this.
Yeah, it's a microcosm of society. And, this is how society is dumbed down. We're not smart people. It's not a great country, right now, to be honest. I put something up. I think it's Dennis Dodd, I think is what his name is. He's on Around the Horn, and he wrote a really tweet. So unlike some of the other people on my network, I'm going to talk about the Lakers in the game, blah, 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 blah. And his tweet had 1 like and 1,000 views. And I put it next to a Stephen A. Smith saying, I'm going to talk about LeBron for 20 million. Had 50,000 likes, 1.6 million views. We want to be dumbed down. I think that's the problem with America in general. We see ourselves as something that we're actually not, when the facts show us exactly what we are.
But doesn't the media have the ability to drive us away from that? The same way they're driving us into it, they have the ability to drive us away from it, and they're choosing, as you mentioned, to lean into this stuff with the LeBron and Stephen A. Smith thing. And it's all leading up to, they're going to have a sit down and a zillion people will watch it on ESPN in prime time in July when nobody cares about anything. That these two are going to wind up having to sit down and have a face-to-face and this man-to-man moment, and then everything's going to be fine.
It comes down to money. I always say this. If you're the employee, whatever you're getting, that means the employer is making more off you. So if Stephen A is getting $100 million, that means whatever, metrics they're using at ESPN, somebody has figured out they can make $500 million, $1 billion off of whatever he's doing. And in the end, I think media, your perception of media is that, we're supposed to be honest, unbiased, just report the facts, ma'am. But that time has passed.
I disagree. I disagree to a point. I don't think there's any such thing as being impartial. We all come from something. We all come from our own experiences, so I don't think we have the ability. The idea of impartiality, even down to Walter Cronkite, everybody has a bias of some kind, something that's happened in their lives, their perspectives that drives their point of view and how they shape a story and how they craft a story. This is different. This is way different than that.
I think this is I think this is what people want. I can't get. Somebody told me a long time ago that when you're talking about, we were talking about drugs in America or whatever. I say, don't blame the supplier, blame the user, because the supplier can only bring you, something. Once the supplier is the one that makes all the money. They're Tony Montana, right? They're Rick Ross, the real Noriega. But it's the user that's the crackhead. It's the user that gets kicked out of the house. It's the user that loses his job. So what happens is Stephen A. Smith and ESPN and Nick Wright and all these guys and Colin Cowherd, they're the suppliers. And guess what? They're rich. We, the user, we're not.
You're so right.
So kick your addiction.
Yeah.
And you'll be better off for it.
I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can. Yeah, it's true. It's a great point. We got another segment with Robert Littal. He joins us every Friday on the show from Black Sports Online. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Coming up in 10 minutes, Tino Pattigno talks NASCAR. This week's race in Martinsville, coming off last week's race and a win for Kyle Larson in Homestead, Miami. Our friend Robert Littal is hanging out with us from Black Sports Online. George Foreman passed away at the start of the week, and we had Al Bernstein on the show to talk about it. And as I mentioned to him, and I'll bring it up with you as well, people are complicated. And George Foreman was no different. Everybody remembers George Foreman for beating Michael Moore and becoming the oldest heavyweight champion, and then, the post life of being an entertainer and the George Foreman grill and an entrepreneur and all of these different things. But this guy lived like 2 or 3 lives in one when you really think about it, Robert.
Yeah, when I think about life in general, I always say it's like a book. It has different, chapters, and his chapters were wildly different. It didn't quite, flow from one thing, to another. People forget, we always talk about the Rumble in the Jungle, and I think, in retrospect, he's looked at more fondly because of that. But when it was happening, Ali made him into a villain. He was like a new Sonny Liston. People didn't want him to be the champion. They felt he was menacing. They felt he was mean. Maybe they felt like he didn't help the black community as much as, he should. Ali had that effect on his, opponents. Same thing kind of with Joe Frazier. And then it kind of had this renaissance into this, kind of grandfatherly guy that sells, grills and stuff like that. It was literally like 2 different people, in the same, body. And it's just something where if you want to talk to somebody about boxing and just the ups and downs of a boxer, what boxing life is like, you can start with George Foreman's, career and really give somebody a sense what it's like to be a professional boxer and what's the highs and lows of that.
It's also a reminder, though, as I think about his passing, of sort of where boxing was versus where it is now. The Rumble in the Jungle and boxing at its, peak of popularity with Muhammad Ali and a charismatic figure. And then even where boxing was when George Foreman beat Michael Moore and became heavyweight champion again. It's fascinating to think about where boxing is sort of through the life and prism of the career of George Foreman versus where it is now as a sport.
Yeah, boxing in America is not in a great, place. I think just like we just talked about, I think it's a product of the society, that we live in now where, back in the day, when the trash talk happened between boxers, it was face to face. And then, they settled it in the ring and they all fought each other for the most part. Now it's more, hey, let's talk on Instagram. Let's do social media. Let's do a bunch of YouTube. And then there's no fights. It's more fight. Like, why am I watching Devin Haney, tweet some girl rapper, about, something she said about him in the song? Like, they don't fight, as much, anymore. And I just think it doesn't, the personalities are kind of grating. And they don't really capture the audience anymore. Like, they're not bigger than life like they used to. You think about, like I said, Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns, Larry Holmes, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield. Like, these guys were bigger than life when I was, a teenager and growing up. And now I look at these guys and I'm like, they're kids and they're Instagram models. And it just... but they're supposed to be boxers. They're supposed to be, and it doesn't just hit the same.
No, it certainly doesn't. One more thing I wanted to bring up, as we start the Major League Baseball season, which kicked off on Thursday, as far as I'm concerned. I don't count the games in Japan that are on at 3:00 in the morning out here on the West Coast that we can't even get up and watch. It is also a reminder as we start the baseball season that participation amongst black youth and black people within Major League Baseball continues to be an issue. And I don't know if Major League Baseball has a solution or if there is a solution. Is there anything you could think of that Major League Baseball could do to drive up participation and bring more black participation to the sport?
It's sad to me because I grew up on baseball, and I remember I had a lot of players that I looked up to when I was a kid. I was in St. Louis. So I was a big St. Louis Cardinals, fan. But, back when I was a kid, we had plenty of baseball fields. You play, or you go out and play with ball, you play stick ball, things like that. I don't see that, now in the neighborhoods, So, guys to go out, they play basketball. They want to do UFC. They want to play football. They had programs in place, but, right now we're in a country where programs like that aren't a priority, right now. And it's sad to me because I love watching baseball. I watched like 4 or 5 games, yesterday. And just like you, I was like, where the brothers at? Not too many, there's plenty of, the Dominican players, the ones from the different countries. It's a very diverse sport, but just not in America, with the American players. And you have to wonder, is it going to continue like that? And even if the white American players you're starting to see dwindle, more and more. I saw one team that I think I just started the lineup. There was only 2 white guys that was, that was in the lineup. So baseball in America, I think is just in general is something that people just don't have much interest in.
No. Unfortunately, it is a very regional sport. I only got about 30 seconds, but I want to get your reaction to something I said earlier in the show. I look at Cooper Flagg, and I watched him from start to finish last night. You know what I see? I see Kevin Love.
Yeah.
Slightly more athletic version of Kevin Love.
He's very hard to kind of get a comp for it, let's be like that. I think he's going to be fine in the NBA.
But I don't think he's going to be some transformative player.
Exactly. I just don't feel. I feel like he's going to be an all-star. He's going to be solid for 15 years, and he's going to be a winning player on a winning team. He has that type of skill set, but he's not Wemby. He's not.
No,
Jokic,
he's not Wemby.
He's
absolutely not.
He's not LeBron. He's not.
No.
I mean, we hope.
Yeah.
But I don't see it.
Robert Littal, Black Sports Online. Check him out there. I always appreciate you, my friend. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
All right, my brother.
We're coming back. Coming up in 10 minutes, we wrap it up with odds and ends and the wildest ending to an NBA game that we've seen this year. Lakers on one side of it on Wednesday night, on the other side of it on Thursday night. It's the beauty of sports. All right, let's talk NASCAR. Johnny on the spot is Tino Pattigno, hanging out with us on the program. Joined us for the Josh Berry conversation that we had on yesterday's show, and always good to sort of. I can talk about NASCAR on the 30,000 foot level. You can do it more on the low flying plane, the helicopter level, and it makes for good conversation when we're able to get these drivers on and sort of get their perspective and their takes. And they're all such unique and different personalities. That's the big takeaway I have from the first 4 or 5 drivers that we've talked to is they're all such different types of personalities, whereas in a lot of professional sports, when you hear athletes, it's a lot of the same talking points, things they lean on to stay in their comfort zones, and it doesn't feel like that's the case with NASCAR drivers.
No, not at all, right? They're all professional athletes, like you mentioned, but in a different way that we've seen in terms of other sports. They all come from different backgrounds. They all, come from different places that they've raced growing up. They've all, made it to NASCAR. But Josh Berry's path was different than Chase Elliott's, and Chase Elliott's path is different than SVG, who came, from New Zealand over here to race in America. So I think seeing that evolution within NASCAR specifically has been great to see, and it's awesome to see different drivers have success with the different ways they've been able to excel in the sport.
Yeah, I agree with that. And in Josh Berry's case, a much different path than most drivers, as you alluded to in the conversation yesterday.
Well, exactly. And I think the biggest thing was with him having that different path was that was the old school way of doing things. Starting at your local short track. Josh Berry, I mentioned it there too, so guys can check that out on social media, but when I said to him, he was, he is the first NASCAR Weekly Series champion to now win a race in the Cup Series. He's like, wow, that's a pretty cool stat. And it is, like, to see something like that continuously happen over NASCAR at a time where a lot of these sponsors and drivers coming into the sport do revolve around money. It's just straightforward, that just saying it like it is. Just to see a guy like Josh Berry continue to have success in a way that's sort of like a throwback to how the sport originated is very cool.
So we saw Christopher Bell run off 3 wins in a row earlier this season. Did Kyle Larson winning in Miami Homestead, is that going to unlock him? Are we about to see him go on a run here?
Yes, 100%, because it was the way that he had won that race. Not the best car. I mentioned it too when we were doing our recap of Homestead Miami. He wanted to go out and dominate. He said that on the post-race, press conference there. and he just didn't have the car that was capable of going out and dominating that race. They had to make it better throughout the course of the day, and not only did they do that, but his mindset made him a better driver in that aspect. Anytime Kyle Larson can find ways to be a better driver, the field should be scared. I think also 15 laps to go, you're in third, and you think you're the best driver in the world, and go and chase down two drivers that had a decent lead ahead of him. To me, very impressive the way he went out and got that win. I think, like you said, the sky's the limit now. This team can continue to rattle off some wins.
Let's talk about this week's race. Martinsville, short track. Rubbing is racing. There's going to be plenty of that this weekend in Martinsville. What should people be looking forward to?
Some great racing action. Short track racing hasn't been, something that a lot of people have been excited about from time to time because of some of the racing, and it's hard to pass and everything like that. But I'm really excited for Martinsville, and how can you not be? They call it the paperclip, half-mile track. Like you said, rubbing is racing. I was going to throw that out there as well. The cars are traveling around 80 miles per hour, and it's really going to be a testament to who can withstand a long green flag run in this race and have the best car and manage their stuff the best to get this win. Ryan Blaney's a driver that we saw him last time we went to this track in the playoffs. He dominated. Chase Elliott's a driver I'm looking at too to be fast in this one. He dominated the Clash earlier this year at Bowman Gray Stadium. Not a track where we normally would be able to throw comparisons to during the season. Martinsville is a great opportunity to do so. Denny Hamlin's another driver we have our eyes on, right? In the last 5 Martinsville races, he's led 461 laps. So to hear the best of the best will be bringing it this weekend, that's something I'm excited for.
Bubba Wallace, is doing fine as far as points are concerned. We watched him last week come up just short and trying to get a win against his nemesis, if you will, his foil in Kyle Larson. How does he fare on a track like this?
He fares okay. Their speed last year showed a lot more promise than we've seen in recent years within that Toyota program of 2311 Racing as well. His teammate in Tyler Reddick, when you go to a track like Homestead Miami last week, they're able to lean on each other. Reddick is better at that track. It's just this driving style. Well, when we come here to Martinsville, it's just Bubba in terms of how he's able to drive better than those other drivers in his team. So he's not able to gain any advantages when it comes to that. When we look back at his finishes at this racetrack, we have 9th, 11th, 4th, and 18th. That 4th is something I'm really keeping in mind in this one because he showed a lot of speed in this race last year in the spring. Temperatures will be around the same.
I got about 40 seconds here. Who do you like? Give me a potential surprise.
I like Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott. Ryan Blaney's the favorite at plus 450. Elliott is plus 800 around there. But for some surprises, I wouldn't be surprised if our boy Josh Berry went out and got it done. He's plus 3,000 right now to do so. And this is the local short track guy racing at the world's biggest stage. His first Xfinity start, he did win at Martinsville. Maybe Ryan Priest throw in there as well. These two guys with short track experience will pay dividends at Martinsville.
All right. It'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to getting back in and watching. I didn't get to watch last weekend because I was sitting in a car driving back from San Francisco 10 hours. I was doing my own racing. It was fun. I was driving at some pretty high rates of speed. I'm not gonna lie. We were testing out the new Equinox. Tino Pattigno, always appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Friday. Don't forget, Sports Wrap weekends available on many of these same stations. If not, check around on the dial. Could be on a different station in your market. Make sure to check out Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, you name it. Anywhere you get a podcast, you get a podcast. You get a podcast. Everybody gets a podcast. You can go and check that out. Also, if you get the chance, you can watch the show, if you're so inclined, on Spotify, and on most days, it is available on YouTube as well. We're also putting up a lot of great content over on YouTube, content on TikTok, just anywhere I can put it, we're putting it these days. Without any further delay, it's time for some odds and ends presented by our friends at Edge Boost. It's NCAA tournament time. Are you getting those bets in? Getting those winning bets in? I hope you are. If you're doing it, you should be using our friends at Edge Boost, the financial platform paying you cash back to wager. Edge Boost is an online bank account that pays you for every deposit. That's right. With the Edge Boost Visa debit card, you're getting up to 0.5% cash back on all your sportsbook, daily fantasy site, and casino transactions. That's free money back in your pocket just for doing what you're doing already. And it's a no-brainer. Plus, your Edge Boost debit card starts with a $250,000 daily limit, and it'll never be declined for gambling activity. They've got built-in tools to help you stay responsible, and there's absolutely no hidden fees or minimum required balances. So stop leaving money on the table. Visit edgeboost.bet to learn more. Sign up today. edgeboost.bet, or just scan the QR code right there. Scan that. Just take your phone, go take a shot of it, and use my promo code RAP when you sign up for your new account. WRAP. Sports Rap. RAP. WRAP is the promo code, and get a free upgrade to your account with our friends from Edge Boost. Well, the night after doing it to the Pacers, the Lakers have it done to them, Sam Yarnell. They fall on a buzzer beater, and it might be the buzzer beater of buzzer beaters. I didn't know, by the way, that Josh Giddey's got 5 triple-doubles this year.
Yeah, I did see that somewhere, because after he scored his last one, and it was like the first time anyone, I think he had a 20 assist triple double. It was like 10 points, 10 rebounds, and 20 assists.
It's crazy.
And it was the first time anyone had ever had a stat line like that.
He has really blossomed in Chicago with the Bulls for sure. So if you didn't see it last night, well, you're going to see it now.
Here's Reeves. Reeves straight to the cup, plays it in to take the lead. Bulls are out of timeouts. 2 seconds left. Giddey for the win. Go!
Oh my God! I cannot believe this. Elizabeth, I'm coming, baby. Oh, Lord.
Improbable!
Unbelievable!
Impossible!
Magic Giddey. Good day.
Adam Amin and Stacey King on the call, Chicago Sports Network. Wow. I mean, that is the buzzer beater of buzzer beaters, Sam Yarnell.
It was incredible, and you saw the kind of, if you watch again the replay, the end of the Lakers bench, they right when it goes down, they head straight for the locker room. It was like, man, they just did exactly what we did to that other team to us.
Yeah, and it's funny because literally about 12 seconds earlier, Josh Giddey threw up an air ball from about 2 feet in front of the basket. Literally. Amazing. Really a career sort of defining moment there for Josh Giddey, and something he'll certainly be able to tell his kids about someday, even though he's probably not going to win a championship because he plays in Chicago with the Bulls and they have no chance to win a championship. So there you go. That's it. That's all I got. That's all I got to say about that. Can we do an Ovechkin watch? We haven't talked about Alex Ovechkin all week. He last scored a goal on Tuesday night against the Winnipeg Jets, who I think he has about 700 of his goals against.
57.
57. It's pretty close, see?
It's the most of any against any franchise.
Thank you. You see?
And that includes the Thrashers.
We didn't even plan that, folks. That's the beauty of us. Ovechkin now 6 goals shy of Wayne Gretzky. There's not a lot of games left in the season, though, Sam. I mean, it's starting to tick down a little bit here. I mean, we're not, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but
yeah, it's interesting. So
there's 72. They only got 8 games left.
8 games. He needs 6 goals.
That may not happen.
He's not scoring at necessarily a goal a game pace, but I think he gets there. Especially look at the teams they have coming up, right? Buffalo, Boston, Chicago, at the Islanders, end of season 2 against Columbus, another one against the Islanders. Last game of the season at Pittsburgh, I think that's when it happens. I think it's Crosby, it's Ovechkin. Ovechkin breaks the record in front of Crosby, takes it from the Canadian in front of the Canadian. I think that it's just kind of written in the stars at this point that is when 889 comes in.
Let's see. Yes is minus 114. No is minus 114, by the way. If you want to wager on it.
I don't want to now, but preseason, it was like 25-1 for him to get there.
I'll tell you, though, Vegas is telling you, it may not, you might have to wait till next year, folks. And I don't think anybody thought that would be the case, maybe a month ago. We got to go. We're out of time. We'll see you next week, Sam. Thank you to you, Tino Pattigno, Robert Littal, all of you for watching. We'll see you next week.